The radical left's agendas are attacking your values. The conservatives like you haven't forgotten what this country was built upon. My friends, the Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard, to represent your values in the D.C. swamp. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and won't give up the struggle because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. You know, President Trump is doing so many great things, and he's doing them so fast it's hard to keep up. But let me ask you a question. First of all, welcome to the program. Let me ask you a question. They don't want us using the National Guard to protect us in the streets, to back up local police. But they don't want us using the military outside the United States to protect us, to prevent foreign governments from pouring these drug poisons into our country that's killing so many young people. So many. Now, we know that Venezuela's been doing this. We know that much comes through Mexico. We know that Communist China's doing this. And here's the thing. Here's the difference between Donald Trump and all the rest of them. He doesn't just complain about it. He doesn't just whine about it. He doesn't just talk about it. He wants to do something about it. That's what makes him so different from the rest. You know, we talk about Congress. Congress is built to act slowly. It just is. It just is. So the president sees these things going on, and he's using his presidential powers under Article 2, the military, to prevent foreign governments from bringing drugs into this country. And so they took out that boat that, on the best information we had significant amount of drugs on it, headed for our country, and blew it out of the water. Venezuela, which is absolutely an illegitimate Marxist regime, it's a narco-Marxist regime, because they've destroyed their oil industry, which was one of the greatest in the world. They send a few jet fighters. Too close to our ships. The president told the Secretary of Defense today that the head of the Joint Chiefs, or even a commander at the commander level, feel that there's a danger or that these planes are coming too close, take them out. And so we've moved air power to Puerto Rico. 10 stealth fighters. Isn't this what should be done? Or do we just play victim all the time? Or we just rub our hands all the time that there's nothing we can do? How can you debate this? And yet the Democrats are saying there's serious questions over the legality of this. What questions over the legality of this? What are the questions? It's clearly constitutional. It clearly is. What's the question? And look how they react. The reaction is to try and find some obstacle, some court, some law, some twisted provision of something to try and prevent the President of the United States from protecting us from enemies, foreign and domestic. So they don't believe in law enforcement. They don't believe in the rule of law and order. They don't believe that we should use our military even in our own hemisphere. Even when we're being targeted, we kill the drugs from a narco-terrorist Marxist regime in Venezuela. What do these people believe? The Democrats. What do they believe? Well, whatever they believe, and we know quite well, they don't believe in us. They always like to talk about the American people, the little guy, the billionaires versus everybody else. But when it comes to, quote unquote, everybody else, they don't give a damn. They don't give a damn about the crime in the streets. They don't give a damn about the drugs coming into the country. Open borders. Open borders. Not just illegal aliens, but the drug cartels. They made out like thieves. Well, like drug cartels. Billions of dollars. It is very interesting that the media don't give us any figures on how much money the drug cartels actually made during the Biden regime and when the Democrats controlled the border. They never had it so good. With slave labor, selling women into sex slavery and kids into sex slavery and labor and so forth and so on, they never had it so good. Drugs. What do they propose to do? The president's trying to stop drugs from getting into the country. It's another reason he's built the wall. It's another reason, well, he's doubled or tripled the number of Border Patrol. I feel so much safer under this president, don't you, Mr. Producer? He's doing all the right things. He really is. And he's doing them every day. The Department of Defense, they changed the name in 1949, it turns out. It was the Department of War from 1789 to 1949. He says, I want to change it back. Why? It's a mindset. It's a psychology. It is an explanation for the reason that it exists. Peace through strength. Peace through strength. The psychology, the mindset is you don't have a massive military to play defense. You have a massive military to defend the country any way necessary. That's why you have a massive military. I don't understand, as a logical matter, this opposition to doing what the president's doing. Department of Defense, the Department of Defense, Congress, you know, it's going to be interesting. He's saying that we're going to call it the Department of Defense, of a war, but to have an official change, you do need legislation to change it back. And I think Mike Lee and a couple others have introduced this legislation wisely. You watch how many Democrats vote against it. Probably all of them. and you watch a few Republicans vote against it. You just watch. You just watch what these people have become, which is crazy. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Conservatives in every stage of life are faced with ever-increasing challenges to our values in the classroom, on campus, and at work. Prepare yourself with a solid understanding of our nation's founding principles in today's most important public policy debates. The Heritage Foundation created the Heritage Academy to help ensure that every conservative from any walk of life has the foundation and the tools needed to defend their values. This 8-week online fellowship includes policy lectures on the most pressing issues facing Americans today, live Q&As to learn from top experts in the conservative movement, and opportunities to connect with other conservatives around the country. Without conservatives grounded in truth and informed on the state of our nation, America as we know it cannot survive. So please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN, and learn more about the Heritage Academy and how you can apply. That's heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN, paid for by the Heritage Foundation. Very interesting. Nora O'Donnell on CBS News. She used to be the anchor person there, but she didn't cut it. Nobody's cutting it. Did I just see that Fox News primetime is beating network primetime, Mr. Producer? Beat every single network primetime. Now, what does that tell you? I mean, you have to pay for cable TV, right? You don't have to pay for network TV. You turn it on, and there it is, right, on every TV. Isn't that amazing, folks? Do you know my show is up against Sunday Night Football? Did you know that, Rich? My Life, Liberty, and Levin is up against college football on Saturday and professional football on Sunday. It's also up against the highest-rated shows on NBC and on some of the other networks, depending on who is and is not running football. That's the 8 p.m. slot on the weekends. That's what I've got. So we keep having entities like Adweek, and they take a look at the number, just the number of the people watching the show. But that's not what you're supposed to look at. You're supposed to look at the number of people watching the show plus the competition. That's what Fox does. That's what we all do. It's what I do here on radio. So the point is, I might have 11, 12, 13 million people watching football or other things, and other shows during the lineup do not. That's the way it goes. I'm more than happy to do it. You know, it's the same thing here. 6 to 9 p.m. slot on the East Coast is the toughest, and that's okay. We're up to it. Now, Nora O'Donnell, interviewing Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Cut one, go.
President Donald Trump appointed you to cement a conservative legal revolution. Are you concerned about the narrative of this court that it is no longer a separate and co-equal branch of government as designed by the Constitution?
I disagree with that conception of the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court is an independent branch of government. And presidents appoint justices, and, presidents have whatever their own motivations are for appointing justices. But once justices serve on the court, the whole point of life tenure and salary protection, which is guaranteed to federal judges by the Constitution, is to ensure their independence from both the executive branch and from Congress.
Mm-hmm. Somebody tell Justice Jackson that. Cut two, go.
But does the reputation of the Supreme Court matter to you?
I want people to have trust in the court, and that's why I wrote this book. Frankly, I wanted people to understand how the court works. I wanted them to understand how we get our cases and how we go about making our decisions, because the court belongs to every American. And I want Americans to feel like they have a stake in the court and they understand what the court does, because what the court does is not the same kind of work that Congress does, and it's not the same kind of work that the president does. Those are the political branches. The court is not one of the political branches.
I listen to this, And of course, she's right about what she's saying. And yet in practice, we see literally hundreds of federal judges who reject this, don't they? We call them activists. I don't even know the name of her book. But I wrote a book once. Remember that one, Mr. Producer? Men in Black, which was also about the Supreme Court and explained how the Supreme Court functions. Now, I admit, not as an insider, not as a justice, but as somebody who's reading the words of the justices and seeing their opinions and their decisions, I should say. So, I have a slightly different take. There is the hoped-for version of the judiciary and then the reality of the judiciary. I would say the majority on the Supreme Court has done a pretty good job of upholding the theory of the judiciary. That is the purpose of our judiciary. The minority on the court, the left, often joined by Roberts and Barrett, but lately not. We keep an eye on all this stuff. But the minority, the three, particularly Jackson, don't view it that way at all. They have a much broader view of the responsibility of an unelected, lifetime-appointed Supreme Court justice, which is to do justice. We're just here to do justice. I think basically Stephen Breyer, that was pretty much his definition. Cut 3, go.
You wrote in the book, the court has held that the rights to marry, engage in sexual intimacy, use birth control, and raise children are fundamental, but the rights to do business, commit suicide, and obtain abortion are not.
Right. I'm describing the doctrine. I was a con law professor for many years. Yes, I described the doctrine in the book, and that is the state of the law, which I described in the book because I want people to understand it. I want Americans to understand the law, and that it's not just an opinion poll about whether the Supreme Court thinks something is good or whether the Supreme Court thinks something is bad.
Well, stop there. Well, we're about to find that out in the birthright citizenship issue, if it's not just an opinion poll, because I'm of the opinion that in that case it is an opinion poll, at least for some of the justices, perhaps including her. We'll see. But I certainly think Roberts would be influenced, I hope not Kavanaugh, perhaps her, on the issue of birthright citizenship. So if they write something like, it's been in place so long and who are we to change it, then you'll know that in their view, they don't want the backlash from the left and the immigration front groups. Because there will be a backlash. And yet today, nobody can tell us the person, the office, even the agency that came up with birthright citizenship. It's believed the Social Security Administration did, and really not for political or ideological purposes, for bureaucratic and convenience purposes. But I just point that out to you because Congress has never passed a law creating birthright citizenship. It doesn't exist in the Constitution, no matter how many people, with law degrees lie about it. And it certainly doesn't exist in the history of the 14th Amendment in any respect and in any way. More when I return. I'll be right back. America needs patriots who know our founding principles and who can stand by those principles today. That's why the Heritage Foundation created the Heritage Academy, to prepare conservatives like you with the additional knowledge needed to stand firm in your beliefs in a world far too often unwelcoming to conservatives. All Heritage Academy fellows learn from the country's leading experts through policy lectures and live Q&A sessions. Speakers include Victor Davis Hanson, Mark Morgan, Dr. Kevin Roberts, and many more. Fellows also interact with other conservatives across the country in one of 3 tracks: high school track, college track, or the professionals and patriots track. I wish every American could join this 8-week online fellowship. But the next round of applications close on September 21, so please go to heritage.org/Levin to apply today. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Join the Heritage Academy to help restore America. Learn more at heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Yes, it's true that Mark Levin is the fastest growing radio show in America. The Mark Levin Show is on at 877-381-3811.
Well, let's swing right back here. Amy Coney Barrett on CBS News yesterday. Let's start at the top of that cut 3 again. Please go.
You wrote in the book, the court has held that the rights to marry, engage in sexual intimacy, use birth control, and raise children are fundamental, but the rights to do business, commit suicide, and obtain abortion are not.
Right. I'm describing the doctrine. I was a con law professor for many years. Yes, I described the doctrine in the book, and that is the state of the law, which I described in the book because I want people to understand it. I want Americans to understand the law, and that it's not just an opinion poll about whether the Supreme Court thinks something is good or whether the Supreme Court thinks something is bad. Mm-hmm. You know, what the court is trying to do is see what the American people have decided. And sometimes the American people have expressed themselves in the Constitution itself, which is our fundamental law, sometimes in statutes. But the court should not be imposing its own values on the American people. Mm-hmm. That's for the democratic process.
And so when Hillary Clinton, for example, says, what's next? She said, my prediction is the court will do to gay marriage what they did to abortion.
Well, I think people who criticize the court or who are outside say a lot of different things. But again, the point that I make in the book is that we have to tune those things out. So,
but you also say in the book that the rights to marry and engage in sexual intimacy and use birth control and raise children are fundamental.
Yes, again, I'm describing what our doctrine is, and that is what we've said.
You know, interesting. She's describing the doctrine, not her personal opinion. And she's trying to make that point, but Nora O'Donnell's a bit of a dunderhead. May I say that, Mr. Producer? I didn't really learn a hell of a lot from this, did you? Not very much. Yeah, except that she's not meaning Nora. Well, whatever. But all that said, and I suppose it's important to put the basics out there, but it's really not the way it works with the left. It's not the way it works with the left. Let's see here. Oh, yes. Doing these things because they're priorities. Well, let me do this. Who's going to wait the hour or two? Let me do it now. You know, ladies and gentlemen, let me see here first. I want to read something to you. Stay right there. I'm getting it. I want to read something to you, my beloved audience. I think the overwhelming majority of you are here for a reason, and you will certainly understand why I am reading it to you. Let's see here. I'm doing my best. Here we go. We're live and national here, as you know, so some things take a little while. All right, almost there. Here I am. You know, why do the commercials on the internet keep popping up when you're trying to get somewhere on this damn thing? Well, I guess I'm not going to do it right now. Let's see. Let me give it one more shot, and then I'll give up to the next hour. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to have to... Okay, good. Mr. Producer's on the job here. Yeah, let's see it. All right, I'm getting an email. I want to read something to you. I'm sorry for the delay, but I'm having trouble pulling it up. Let me do this. Okay. All right, Richie Rich, I'm almost there. I think I don't have it yet. I want to read you something that I posted a few hours ago. I just flew back from Florida, not to get a suntan, but I have an older brother who's quite ill. And been in the hospital. He was doing better. So I decided to come back to Virginia, and I'll go back out there as necessary. And a friend of mine sends me a text as I get off the plane around 2 p.m. on the way to drive home. I want to read something to you after I read the text. He attached a Chatsworth Qatarlson, a.k.a. Tucker Carlson, show from today. I don't pay attention to his shows. The guy's just a dumbass, so why should I waste my time? But there it is. And what was it? Well, to cut to the chase, he's attacking my stepson, who was appointed by President Trump and Mike Huckabee to serve as the senior staffer to Mike Huckabee in Israel. I've told you about him, David Milstein, on many occasions. He's a great patriot, a great American patriot. The entire family is, our whole family. He's doing a fantastic job with a fantastic ambassador, as he did with the prior fantastic ambassador, David Friedman. He tries to institute the president's agenda. He tries to institute the Secretary of State's agenda, and he tries to institute the ambassador's agenda. That's his job. The State Department is notorious for having some of the most radical and yet some of the smartest bureaucrats. And so there's always give and take. When I was at the Department of Justice, same thing. But nonetheless, that's the way it is. But Carlson decided he was going to trash my stepson. Bringing on some guy I never heard of before, who apparently was a contractor there, I think hired during the Biden years. I haven't done enough research on this. And was let go. And Carlson plucks him, apparently from obscurity, this guy, has him on his show over an hour, blaming my stepson for this guy's removal, this contractor, trashing him, and then attacking me. Now, I can handle it. I'm here. And you know the funny thing is, we have a wall between us here. That is, my stepson and me. I don't want to know what he's doing. I don't get involved in it. He's got his responsibilities. He has his line of reporting. He works for the ambassador, the State Department, the president, to push their policy and agenda. I give my own opinions about what I believe. That's the way it is. It's the way it is in our household. And I have nothing but enormous respect for him. Enormous respect. When those missiles were flying into Israel, he and the ambassador, and the ambassador's wife and the other family members, they were constantly having to go into these underground safe rooms. Constantly. So they put their lives on the line. Now, Carlson doesn't know my stepson. What a fantastic young man he is. What a decent, earnest, patriotic American he is. He doesn't know a thing about him. Nothing. But if you're a real man, a father, you don't attack somebody's son. Bring in some guy who I've never heard of before, but apparently he's very upset with the Secretary of State, as best as I can read, because apparently, and I didn't know this, he's been going throughout the left-wing media in Israel, in the United States, saying the same thing. Saying the same thing. Disgruntled. And not promoting, apparently, the president's agenda. But if you're a real man, you don't go after somebody's kid. If you're a father, you don't go after somebody's kid. Buckley, Carlson works for J.D. Vance, who's been absolutely silent through all this, by the way. Buckley, Carlson works for J.D. Vance. Before that, he worked for Jim Banks. He was a congressman, now he's a senator. Jim Banks is a terrific man. I endorsed him immediately when he decided to run for the Senate. You want to know why? Because my stepson, David, said he is fantastic. And I read a little bit about him. I got on the air here, and we endorsed him. Now, I could do a lot of things here directed at Buckley Carlson, and I'm not going to do any. None. I feel sorry for the kid, no question about it. But aside from that, he doesn't deserve me smearing him. He didn't do anything. He has his own life. He's probably a good kid. Probably very patriotic. I don't know anything about him. And I don't need to. But this punk, his father, to attack, smear, lie about my stepson, I am never going to forgive him. Ever. And one more stupid-ass step, and I will drag your fat ass into court. You got that, punk? A lot of people are afraid of you. You're nothing to me. Nothing. Zippo. Your career is dead. You just don't know it yet, because you have a bunch of morons who are following you. But the truth is, your career is dead. You don't have a mass audience. You don't have mass influence. You're sick. You're unhinged. And you're evil. And so this is what I posted. And by the way, I understand the lib media is going to pick this up. They love this stuff. The clowns at Mediaite and the drudgery, but I got it. They mean nothing. They mean nothing. They love Tucker Carlson. They love Candace Owens. They love Alex Jones. They love Ben. They love them all because they want to smear us, you and me, by defining us and characterizing us through them. Well, I'm not going to stand for it. I posted this. Ask yourself, what causes someone to become so thoroughly evil that they promote 9/11 conspiracies, host Holocaust deniers and Hitler promoters, lavish praise on Putin and other monsters, smear our country's history, military, and great leaders, spread vicious lies and hate about our allies like Israel, trash President Trump for successfully defending our nation against the Iranian terrorist regime and its nuclear program, and smear our country's history. I'm talking about Tucker Carlson, a.k.a. Qatarlson. And today he conducted an entire program using a disgruntled, reportedly former contractor who was apparently dropped by the State Department to smear my stepson, who works for Ambassador Huckabee. And he smeared Huckabee and Speaker Mike Johnson, the entire Rubio State Department, and President Trump's policies. He even suggested that I had some role in this person's removal. I don't even know who the hell he is. Clearly, Qatarlson believes that libeling a family member is fair game. I want you to think about that, you moms and dads out there. I've never disparaged his son, Buckley Carlson, who works for J.D. Vance, let alone conduct an entire program focused on Buckley. Qatarlson is an unhinged, evil lowlife. He no more cares about America first than his buddy Putin, or the monarchy of Qatar, who he's obsessed with. I've said enough. At least for tonight. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Conservatives in every stage of life are faced with ever-increasing challenges to our values in the classroom, on campus, and at work. Prepare yourself with a solid understanding of our nation's founding principles in today's most important public policy debates. The Heritage Foundation created the Heritage Academy to help ensure that every conservative from any walk of life has the foundation and the tools needed to defend their values. This 8-week online fellowship includes policy lectures on the most pressing issues facing Americans today, live Q&As to learn from top experts in the conservative movement, and opportunities to connect with other conservatives around the country. Without conservatives grounded in truth and informed on the state of our nation, America as we know it cannot survive. So please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN, and learn more about the Heritage Academy and how you can apply. That's heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN, paid for by the Heritage Foundation. Oh, one other thing. Any of you politicians out there thinking of running for president? This guy has so transitioned into what he is today. This guy, Carlson. If he supports you, or if you embrace him, I will do everything I can to defeat you. Everything I can. He doesn't represent anything I've spent my life advancing or this audience believes in. Those days are over. That's 10 years ago. I can't control his mental state. I can't control what a complete crackpot this guy has become. Trashing the country, trashing family members, trashing Jews, trashing our military, trashing our founders, trashing Churchill, platforming every sick bastard you can imagine, embracing Putin, the Qatar monarchy, and all the rest of it. Any person seeking the Republican nomination for president, and no, I'm not talking about Buckley Carlson, I'm talking about Tucker Carlson, who embraces Tucker Carlson, or whom he supports, we will fight. We will fight. We may lose, but I'll do every damn thing I can to make sure they lose, because that's not the kind of person I want representing my country or my party. It's that simple. We have a lot more news to do, and we will, and I'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Looking here. You know, Putin is viciously attacking Ukraine worse than ever before. Worse than ever before. And the president was asked about this last night. But you know, let me say this first. The Department of War attacking this Venezuelan boat loaded with drugs headed for the United States. a B-2 stealth bomber and stealth jet fighters moved to Puerto Rico because Venezuela is threatening our ships. The president's saying we are taking the Panama Canal, Greenland, that we will help if there's some kind of deal, not with troops, but in a backup position to secure Ukraine's peace, safety, if there's a deal. Taking out the nuclear sites in Iran and backing Israel like no president ever has. Building up the United States military. And there's more. Does that sound like an isolationist to you, Mr. Producer? I ask you, America, Mr. and Mrs. America, does that sound like an isolationist to you? No. This is Reagan-esque. Peace through strength. That's the president's phrase. That was Reagan's phrase, peace through strength. Mighty successful in bringing peace to so many areas of the world, including to us. Everything I just mentioned to you is opposed by these isolationists. They're opposed by the Marxists. They're opposed by the Islamists. We have nothing in common with these people. Zero. Because we love America. We don't just say we love America. We really love America. They do not. So on Russia and Ukraine, here's the president. Cut 11, go.
I settled 7 wars. The one that I thought would be maybe one of the easiest. You know that feeling? You think one thing is going to be easier. It turns out to be a little bit tougher. But the one that I thought would be an easier one because of my relationship with President Putin and with Ukraine and everything else, I thought it would be the Russia-Ukraine disaster where this week 7,014 people were killed. Soldiers, in most cases soldiers, a few from Kiev, relatively few, but mostly soldiers, and they're being killed at levels that we haven't seen since World War II. And they're not American. They're not from any of the countries that some of you are from, but they're people, they're souls, and we'll get it done. But that's turned out to be the most difficult of the group. You know, I settled 3 wars. One was 31 years going. A lot of people killed, 10 million people. Another was 34, and another was 37 years it was going on. And people said, you can't settle them, and I settled them. This one turned out to be more difficult, but we'll get it. We're going to get it settled.
He's a man of deep compassion for his fellow humans, human beings. I wanted to point this out. It's not Judaism alone that's under attack, so is Christianity. And we talk about this all the time. But it's not talked about enough by others. Diane Nerazi at the New York Post, DOJ task force finds numerous instances of anti-Christian government bias under the Biden administration. It's like I always say, one follows the next. They say the Saturday people and then the Sunday people. The Biden administration had a consistent and systematic pattern of discrimination against Christians. A new Trump Department of Justice report revealed Friday, today, pointing out instances of when the 46th president's officials weaponized the full weight of the federal government, quoting from the report, against the members of faith. The report was the first of its kind from the task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias, which was created by President Trump and led by Attorney General Pam Bondi. Have you heard about this today, America? No, you haven't. And found instances of the State Department limiting humanitarian relief for Christians, declining religious exemptions to COVID-19 vaccine mandates, etc. Any unlawful and improper conduct, policies, or practices that target Christians are identified, terminated, and rectified, the memo, which says the memo obtained by the Post. So you have a task force out there to fight anti-Semitism, and you have a task force out there to fight anti-Christianity. Isn't this fantastic? I think it is. The task force makes this commitment. The federal government, and this is a quote, will never again be permitted to turn its power against people of faith. Under President Trump and Attorney General Bondi's leadership, in partnership with all members of this task force, the rule of law will be enforced with vigor, and every religion will be treated with equality in both policy and action. It's also noted the days of anti-Christian bias in the federal government are over. Faith is not a liability in America, it's liberty. Examples of discrimination included the State Department providing, quote, limited humanitarian relief to Christians relative to their populations and having muted responses to attacks against Christians. The State Department also favored hiring those who adhered to other religions while Christian employees were discriminated against, the memo said. It was particularly concerning that employees were less likely to be permitted leave for observation of certain Christian holidays as opposed to non-Christian ones. That's sick. The findings went on. The Department of State imposed radical LGBTQ gender ideology on foreign governments and state employees, including the forced usage of preferred pronouns and rainbow flags, violating the sincerely held religious beliefs of many Christians and other Americans of faith. Another example found the Department of Defense, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and Department of Labor had each, quote, deprioritized, mishandled, or denied requests for religious exemptions to the Biden administration's COVID-19 mandate. The task force also concluded the Biden Department of Education, and I'm quoting, attempted to impose record-breaking fines on some of the nation's largest Christian universities, including Liberty University and Grand Canyon University. They wanted to impose $14 million on Liberty University, and get this, $37.7 million on Grand Canyon University. I don't believe there was any Democrat judge out there that said they couldn't do that. At the Justice Department, the DOJ discovered that the Biden regime lacked an effort to address and prosecute violations of the law that were anti-Christian in bias, and it was demonstrated by their persecutors. Instead, again quoting, during that time, the DOJ pursued novel theories of prosecution against those speaking or demonstrating based upon their Christian faith. A particularly rife issue during the Biden regime in the Christian community was the imprisonment of Christians for demonstrating outside abortion facilities. God knows I brought this up over and over and over again. The Biden DOJ arrested about 24 individuals via the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, or FACE, many of whom Trump pardoned when he assumed office. Yet the same DOJ refused to apply the FACE Act to protect places of worship and crisis pregnancy centers. The memo also took issue with the FBI's previous report that radical traditionalist Catholics were domestic terrorism threats. The larger report is planned for release in February of next year. Quote, Joe Biden weaponized the full weight of the federal government against Christians and trampled on their fundamental First Amendment rights. Unlike Joe Biden, President Trump is protecting Christians, not pushing them, White House spokesman Taylor Rogers told the Post. Boy, it's great that we're in a power now to expose these things, isn't it? One after another. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
When was the last time you bragged about your wireless company? Like, did you know my wireless company gave away 1,000 American flags to deserving vets and forgave $10 million in veteran debt? Did you know my wireless company raised almost $500,000 to help prevent veteran suicide? In other words, when your wireless company is Pure Talk, there's a whole lot to brag about. You can even brag about the coverage you get with Pure Talk, a 5G network that is insanely fast, dependable, and secure. And you can definitely brag about how much money you save with Pure Talk. Unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Just $25 a month, saving the average family over $1,000 a year. It's time to switch to my favorite wireless company, Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin and save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, puretalk.com/LEVIN. Make the switch today. Pure Talk, wireless worth bragging about. Two great Life, Liberty, and Levin programs for you this week, and I encourage you to to tape the programs because you might want to watch the football. Look, I'm not a fool. I know what's going on out there. There's a lot more college football on Saturdays now. And, of course, we have Sunday night football. Those of you who don't watch football, you can watch live. Those of you who do, you can tape the show. It's that simple. You don't have to make a choice. But there's two great shows. And I know you're going to enjoy them. And let's see, what else do I need to tell you? I think that's, I want to thank you again on Power. You know, we made a big issue of this guy, Tim Kaine, thanks to Ted Cruz bringing it to the whole nation's attention, that this man actually does embrace the ideas of the Islamists, even though he pretends he doesn't, and he rejects the ideas of the founders, the Enlightenment, and the Bible. It's a complete fraud and a phony. Rights come from government. Let me ask you a question. What if they don't come from government? What if the government is like a Marxist regime or an Islamist regime or a fascist regime? And they don't give you your rights, so you don't have any rights? Ladies and gentlemen, the desire for liberty is the desire of the heart. It's a desire that is yours whether government acknowledges it or not. That's the whole point. It's just so ignorant. Let's try something, Mr. Producer. I know in 20-some years we've never succeeded. Let's invite Tim Kaine on the program to explain where rights come from. Just in not an argumentative way, make the request. Just say we'd love him to come on to discuss where do rights come from. We're very, very fascinated, and we want to explore his understanding of that issue. Okay? He mentioned it at a hearing. Just that simple. Folks, there's an enormous amount of money flowing into Mondami's campaign. Where's it coming from? Rush used to say, follow the money. He's 100% right. Follow the money. Follow the money when it comes to some of these podcasters. Follow the money. Follow the money when it comes to Mondami. Follow the money when it comes for Students for Justice in Palestine. What a joke. Follow the money when it comes to CARE. Emma Fitzsimmons in the New York Slimes, roughly 2 months before New York City's mayoral election, Zohran Mondami has raised enough money to hit the $8 million fundraising cap. Mondami, the Democratic nominee and the frontrunner in the polls, will announce the fundraising achievement in a video today. Who cares? We can't take any more money, he says in the video. Truly, you need to stop. His three main rivals trail him in fundraising. Former Governor Cuomo, second in the polls, has $1.5 million in his campaign account. Eric Adams, who's been denied public matching funds, has $4 million. Sliwa has $3.4 million. Outside spending by super PACs could raise far more money. Super PACs are not limited. They're not limited. Now, there are reports out there that the president has sought to clear the field for Cuomo. He thinks he's the one that has a shot at winning. Not that he's in love with Cuomo, that's for sure. He's a practical man. He looks at the numbers. This is something that concerns us all. Anybody who can do mathematics. About half of us. I'd like to see two people drop out and have it be one-on-one, Mr. Trump said. Some business leaders are also hoping to clear the field, preferably for Mr. Cuomo, not just to consolidate moderate votes behind one candidate, but to give donors a single alternative to Mondani instead of three. Unlike candidates, outside groups have no fundraising or spending limits. I agree with this. I agree with it. But it seems like Eric Adams is digging in harder than ever before. Our buddy Sliwa, same thing. You know, when I was in Florida last week for several days, I like to talk to a lot of people, the diner, places like that. A lot of them were from the north, of course. Massive increase in Republican registration in Florida. You know, I don't think DeSantis gets enough credit. I really don't. You know, we have states that are Republican, that are growing in numbers, or they're pretty flat, or whatever they are. Florida is exploding with massive Republican majorities now. The people in Florida love DeSantis. You want to know why? We don't have to focus that much on what the governor's doing. Like when you live in a state where you have a hostile governor, you're always worried, what are they going to do next? What are they going to do next? DeSantis is already there. He shares our principles. He shows our principles work when they're put into action. He really does. It's a good man. And the people in Florida could not be more happy. Or happier. Either's right. But this Mondami. People are already leaving New York. They're already doing that. To go to Florida and some of these other states. It's an amazing thing. This guy Newsom wants to be president of the United States, and people are leaving his state. They're fleeing the state. They don't want to. Many of them were born there, or there are multiple generations of families there. Others have business there. It's a pain in the neck to move and all. Others are stuck and they can't get out. People are not flocking to California, which is the most beautiful state we have. Every state has beautiful parts. I agree. But that state is like second to none. And yet, he's destroyed it. He's not alone. New York City, people, today you don't need to be in New York City to be a hedge fund guy. I don't even know what the hell that means, by the way. Sounds to me like you just move money around. Or a finance guy, you don't have to be located there anymore. You can do business from wherever you want. Idaho, Wyoming, Alaska, Florida. People want to be in New York, the camaraderie, the opportunities, and so on. But if all that's going to be destroyed, they're going to leave. And they're going to take their businesses with them, and their jobs, and their taxes. When was the last time you bragged about your wireless company? Like, did you know my wireless company gave away 1,000 American flags to deserving vets and forgave $10 million in veteran debt? Did you know my wireless company raised almost $500,000 to help prevent veteran suicide? In other words, when your wireless company is Pure Talk, there's a whole lot to brag about. You can even brag about the coverage you get with Pure Talk, a 5G network that is insanely fast, dependable, and secure. And you can definitely brag about how much money you save with Pure Talk. Unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Just $25 a month, saving the average family over $1,000 a year. It's time to switch to my favorite wireless company, Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin and save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, puretalk.com/LEVIN. Make the switch today. Pure Talk. Wireless worth bragging about.
Mark Levin, the most popular conservative author in America. Call in to the Mark Levin Show now at 877-381-3811.
There was this horrible story out there, Mr. Producer and Mr. and Mrs. America, about how this Palestinian child was murdered in cold blood by the Israeli Defense Forces. How this person, I believe he was a Green Beret, retired, but whatever he was, saw it with his own eyes. It was picked up by all the big media outlets. How he was shot because he wanted food. Qatarlson had this individual on his program for an hour, going on and on about how unbelievable this was, how horrible it was. But it was a lie. The little boy wasn't shot. The little boy was alive and, frankly, well. Alive and well. The media in our country have not apologized. And Carlson has been silent. Spent an hour on this. Anything he can do, you see, to promote the Islamists against the Israelis or against Jews generally. Follow the money, as Rush would say. Or maybe it's just in his heart. Maybe his hate is just there. But in any event, it doesn't really matter. So you people who follow him, give him clicks, you give him motivation to keep doing it and to get more and more of a nut job. You're getting lies from this guy. He lies about settled history. He lies about history that your parents and grandparents lived in World War II. Don't you think that's weird? Yeah. People say, why? What's happened to him? I don't know, and I don't care. For all I know, he had a head injury. What do I care? He's had problems in the past. But he's got a problem now. It's called Mark Levin. I can tell you that. Oh, yeah. And now that he's full legal, he's laying out there for everyone to see. Any politician who seeks his support, or who he supports, who's running for president, I will strongly oppose, and I will make clear to you who that is and what's going on. We cannot allow our movement, our party, to go into tatters, to be destroyed, then have the Marxist Islamists take this country over. When there's no majority of Americans that will vote for people who believe as these buffoons believe. There's a big event, I think they call it NatCom or something, big movement. I think Bannon was invited, but other people too. It had a tiny audience. These people are destroying themselves. If they haven't already, I'm exposing them. That's what's different. Everybody's been scared of these guys. What are we going to do? What do you mean, what are we going to do? You're an adult. Speak up. Speak up. And they're doing it to themselves. They're doing it to themselves. All you have to do is shine a light on it. But that's the way it goes. It is a deep honor of mine to have you folks in this audience. Deep honor of mine. Smart. You. Smart. Patriotic. You love our country. You want it to survive. You know the enemies that are trying to destroy us from within and from without. You have no identification with the monarchy of Qatar, with Vladimir Putin, who's a monster. None. You know that the Iranian regime is a terrorist-supporting regime. It's wanted to destroy America for a long time when they overthrew the Shah of Iran. That they want nukes, as President Trump said, to destroy us. And yet these people oppose Trump every step of the way. They give aid and comfort to the enemy. That's what they do. The enemy quotes these people. They quote them. Here we have men and women who serve in the United States military, who do things that most Americans won't do, who forfeit other potential job possibilities, a higher income. Many put their lives on the line. And when you're giving aid and comfort to the enemy, trashing the commander-in-chief, really at a time of war, or certainly a battle, or you act like our military just goes along with somebody else's military, they're just too stupid to know any better, you are as big of a pox. You're as big as a pox on our military as the wokeists, as the leftists. That's true. There's a great piece in Tablet magazine. It's a great magazine, online magazine, Tablet, and I linked to it by our friend Lee Smith, that these people are promoting what is, in effect, Barack Obama's foreign policy and rejecting Donald Trump's foreign policy. And when you think about it, he's right. And I've said myself, these people are more aligned with Bernie Sanders and Tlaib than they are with you and me and the President of the United States. And then they attack him for abandoning them, MAGA. MAGA wants nothing to do with Islamists, Bernie Sanders, Tlaib, Iran, Putin, the Qatari monarchy. And yet, that's who these people embrace. It's a great piece by Lee Smith. I linked to it. Another great piece there that I linked to, involving what's going on with Wikipedia. Have you heard about this, Mr. Producer? Oh, yeah. Well, Wikipedia is a real crap hole to begin with, of course. But over at Wikipedia, they have radicals as senior editors who are rewriting the war in the Middle East from the Hamas perspective. And then they're locking out people who are seeking to get in and to edit it. Now, the problem with this is not just Wikipedia, but AI. Many of these AI entities use Wikipedia heavily. Heavily. So Wikipedia has been effectively corrupted by these people. And AI, which a lot of people use now, and certainly more are going to be using it in the future, is pulling information out of Wikipedia and regurgitating it. That's a problem, isn't it? There's a great piece by Philip Klein about this in National Review. I've linked to that too. And there's a longer piece, really the piece that he cites and builds upon, by Ashley Reinsberg. The Wiki Wars, also a Tablet magazine. Again, a wonderful outlet. By the way, I see Barry Weiss, rumors are, is going to sell the Free Press for like $100 million to CBS. Did you see that, Mr. Producer? $200 million? Is that worth $200 million? You know, there's some good stuff there. There's some good reporters there. She's very good. I don't always agree with them, but they do some very good things, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But $200 million? $200 million? I'm in the wrong business. Wrong business. 5 years she's had that thing make $200 million. I'm not against it. I hope she makes $2 billion. What do I care? I'm just making a point. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. You know, we'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
When was the last time you bragged about your wireless company? Like, did you know my wireless company gave away 1,000 American flags to deserving vets and forgave $10 million in veteran debt? Did you know my wireless company raised almost $500,000 to help prevent veteran suicide? In other words, when your wireless company is Pure Talk, there's a whole lot to brag about. You can even brag about the coverage you get with Pure Talk, a 5G network that is insanely fast, dependable, and secure. And you can definitely brag about how much money you save with Pure Talk. Unlimited talk, text, plenty of data. Just $25 a month, saving the average family over $1,000 a year. It's time to switch to my favorite wireless company, Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Levin and save an additional 50% off your first month. Again, puretalk.com/LEVIN. Make the switch today. Pure Talk, wireless worth bragging about. You see that Eagles-Cowboys game last night, Mr. Producer? Pretty unusual. See the spitting incident? Well, everybody didn't see the whole thing. Apparently there was a first spitter. Do you know who that was? Prescott. Now, he didn't spit on somebody. He spit on the ground in front of them, which kind of pissed him off. I'm not making any excuses. That was outrageous. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was a great game, though. I really enjoyed it. All the scoring was up front. I think there was a field goal in the second half. Obviously, there was a break. I liked the break. I had a break. I went to sleep. You know what I did on the break? I turned the channel, and I watched Ion. We love Ion here. And I watched Chicago PD, which is on Thursday nights. Love that show. I love Blue Bloods, but they canceled the damn thing. Tom Selleck's one of my favorite. The actors there are great. And we love the Monday show there, the FBI. And there's Chicago Fire. And that whole lineup from Monday through Thursday, we love it. Love it. Hello, love it. I encourage you to check it out. Check it out. Oh, there's Zuhdi Jasser, our man. You know, when we put Zuhdi Jasser on radio and TV, nobody else would. Nobody else would. He's a good man. Now they can't get enough of him, and that's okay by me. There are others like that. Our buddy Joe Concha. You know Joe Concha, don't you, Mr. Producer? Always loved Joe Concha. I can go down the list. Look at this. This is incredible. Dearborn Heights becomes first U.S. city to feature Arabic on a police patch. Or as I call it, Debornistan. But guess what? They just backed off, as I'm reading here, because people were concerned about it. You know, English is our language. Can you imagine if we take all the languages in this country that people have and we put them on police patches or police cars or something like that? That's crazy. Well, Dearbornistan was about to do that. They were about to do that, and then they backed off. But you can see little aspects of this here and there, can't you? Like that town near Plano, Texas? Oh, yeah. A lot of people coming into this country from certain parts of the world do not want to assimilate. They want us to assimilate into their society. And I am not kidding. I am not kidding. You know, we used to say in the Reagan administration, personnel means policy. So we put good people in as many positions as we could, and we did a pretty damn good job. And so is Trump. D.C. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, you may have heard of Judge Jeanine, charges 2 teens with the murder for slaying of congressional intern in June. This is a horrible thing. New York Post, U.S. Attorney Pirro announced today that 2 teenagers have been charged with first-degree murder and will be tried as adults for the slaying of a congressional intern, that a 3rd suspect is still being pursued. You see, they wouldn't do this before. Jalen Lucas and Kelvin Thomas, both 17, were apprehended in Washington and charged with fatally shooting Eric Tarpian Jahim, 21. I'm looking at a picture of this poor kid. They murdered him. The 3 gunmen allegedly unloaded 79 rounds from 2 rifles and a 9mm handgun at a neighborhood crew. And they killed him. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
glad to see all those attacking pro-military conservatives as warmongers now celebrating the Department of War. We were never warmongers. You know what I'm saying, Mr. Producer? And we salute POTUS and what he's doing, right? For the department, for the DOD, for DOD, and our national security. What do you think of that, Rich? Warmongers. We're now all warmongers. Warmongers. The isolationists must be wetting themselves nonstop. Nonstop. They call isolationism realism. You know what I call it? Suicide. Suicide. Stupid. Isolationism. Marco Rubio in Ecuador yesterday regarding that drug boat. Cut 13, Mr. Producer. Go.
You're wrong in your question. Number one, Venezuela is a major source. And the reason why is the following. And I've seen a lot of this reporting, and it's fake reporting, and I'll tell you why. It says that somehow Venezuela is not involved in the drug trade because the UN says they're not involved in the drug. I don't care what the UN says. The UN doesn't know what they're talking about. Maduro is indicted by a grand jury in the Southern District of New York. That means the Southern District of New York presented the evidence to a grand jury, and a grand jury indicted him. And then a superseding indictment came out that was unsealed about a year and a half ago that specifically detailed Maduro's actions. So number one, let there be no doubt, Nicolas Maduro is an indicted drug trafficker in the United States, and he's a fugitive of American justice.
What do you say to that? Huh? Cut 14, go.
We've been talking about this Department of War. So we won the First World War, we won the Second World War, we won everything before that and in between, and then we decided to go woke and we changed the name to Department of Defense. So we're going Department of War, and I'd like to ask our Secretary of War to say a few words. Pete Hegseth, I think it's a much more appropriate name, especially in light of where the world is right now. We have the strongest military in the world. We have the greatest equipment in the world. We have the greatest manufacturers of equipment by far. There's nobody to even compete. And you see that with this and so many other things. The Patriots are the best. Every element of the military, we make the best by far.
Yes, we do. Let me post this and stir the pot, Mr. Producer. Glad to see all those attacking pro-military conservatives as warmongers now celebrating the Department of War. We were never warmongers. We salute POTUS and what he's doing for DOD and our national security. He was never an isolationist or appeaser or a pacifist. Peace through strength. Do you think that's fair, Rich? Damn right. Department of War. Doesn't mean we're for war. You know, I said, like, the Department of Energy doesn't produce energy. Department of Agriculture doesn't produce food. Department of Education produces illiteracy. You know, that sort of thing. And here's Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War. No warmonger he, however, no question. Cut 15, go.
After winning a war for independence in 1789, George Washington established the War Department, and Henry Knox was his first Secretary of War. And this country won every major war after that, to include World War I and World War II. Total victory, Mr. President, as you said. Then 150 years after that, we changed the name after World War II from the Department of War to the Department of Defense in 1947. And as you pointed out, Mr. President, we haven't won a major war since, and that's not to disparage our warfighters, whether it's the Korean War, or the Vietnam War, or our generation of Iraq and Afghanistan. That's to recognize that this name change is not just about renaming, it's about restoring. Words matter. It's restoring, as you've guided us to, Mr. President, restoring the warrior ethos, restoring victory and clarity as an end state, restoring intentionality to the use of force. So at your direction, Mr. President, the War Department is going to fight decisively, not endless conflicts. It's going to fight to win, not to lose. We're going to go on offense, not just on defense. Maximum lethality, not tepid legality.
I love this, Mr. Perdue. They all sound like me. I thought I'm a warmonger. Cut 16, go.
I think it sends a message of victory. I think it sends really a message of strength. We're very strong. We're much stronger than anyone would really understand. And again, you know, having the great equipment, we have just so much better. You look at all of the, just any of it, submarines as an example. We're 20 years ahead of anyone else. Nobody even compares. And I let a lot of this happen in my first term. You know, we totally rebuilt our military. And then, of course, you had that catastrophe in Afghanistan where they gave up a lot of the equipment, but a relatively small amount, but a lot. It was a lot in Afghanistan. I think it was the most, General, I'd say it was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country, the way that happened, the way they went to the wrong airport. They should have gone to Bagram, not the local little airport with no security, with tight quarters, etc. You know what happened. I think it was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, frankly. That was under the Biden administration. That was terrible.
Oh, no, but it was so fantastic. At least he followed the law and everything, you know. The judges loved him. They loved him. This is a great president, isn't it? Absolutely great president. The president went on to talk about a number of other things, including this. Cut 18, go, please.
President, do you have an update on the negotiations to release the rest of the hostages in Gaza?
We're in very deep negotiation with Hamas. We said let them all out right now, let them all out, and much better things will happen for them. But if you don't let them all out, it's going to be a tough situation. It's going to be nasty. That's my opinion. Israel's choice, but that's my opinion. They got to let them out. You got 20 plus you have about 38 dead people, young, beautiful, dead people. And I'll tell you, the parents want them every bit as much, almost more, than as if their son or daughter were alive. But you have many dead people that are coming out as part of the deal. It's 20 people, but I think of the 20, there could be some that have recently died, is what I'm hearing. I hope that's wrong. But you have over 30 bodies in this negotiation. Can you believe? I mean, we negotiate for people that are living here. We know that at least 30 people are dead, and we're negotiating to get them out. The parents want them back so badly, as if they were alive. Every bit as much. It's really pretty amazing. It's very sad. I'm in the middle of it. And I put out the other day, I said, we want all 20. We don't want to, you know, I was the one with myself and my people, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner was great on this, but they got a lot of people out. We got almost all of them out, but they're down to 20. But Adam, we got like a tremendous number out. But I always said when you get down to the final 10 or 20, you're not going to get them out unless you're going to do a lot, and doing a lot means capitulation. That's no good either. It's a very tough situation. But I put out the other day, let them all out. Every single one. No more twos and ones. We'll give you one this week, and in 2 months we'll give you 2 more. And there's negotiation going on right now.
And then cut 19, please, go.
And real quick, what is the biggest challenge negotiating with Hamas right now? 10 to 20, what do they want to let them free?
Well, they're asking for some things that are fine. Look, you have to understand, you have to remember October 7th. You know, people forget October 7th. It's not an easy thing to forget, right? But people forget, or they maybe purposely forget October 7th. So, you know, you have to put that into the equation very strongly. It's amazing. Some people even deny it. They deny it. They're crazy. But I've seen tape that's as violent as anything that you can imagine. Many of you have seen those same tapes. So you have to put that into the equation too. So it's not an easy situation. It's a tough one.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I have a question. What's holding up Mike Waltz's confirmation as ambassador to the United Nations? Do you know anything about that, Mr. Producer? Somebody must be holding it up, no? You know what? I'm going to look into this. I'll get back to you next week, because this is ridiculous that we don't have a ambassador to the United Nations, and Waltz would be a great ambassador to the United Nations on behalf of the United States. I mean, the guy is a Green Beret, as I recall. He gave up a congressional seat to serve, and you don't hear about him anymore. Now, he was nominated. He had a hearing. Now, what the hell's going on? Something smells. I'll find out. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I always like to talk about this issue of power to fully understand what is swirling on around us here, ladies and gentlemen. Positive power originates, this is for Tim Kaine, not from mankind's hand or mind, although certainly its practical and earthly application does, but its origin is transcendent and inherent. We speak of universal or eternal truth, Tim Kaine, the Golden Rule, the Ten Commandments. These are fundamentally moral precepts, understood and ingrained in the human conscience and openly expressed in free and democratic societies. They're known to be true throughout the world, including among those who are oppressed by tyrannical governments, by the less educated and uneducated, by people of all faiths or no faith. This is not to say that all individuals, cultures, or regimes adhere to these eternal truths. Some are evil, power-hungry, irrational, etc. Man's existence is strewn with horrific examples of his cruelty, from ancient history to modern times. Of course, man's imperfection is both well known and well established, but knowing what is right from wrong is distinct from doing what is right rather than wrong. The examination and understanding, or at least the desire to understand what makes positive power and its differentiation from negative power, do not end here, as I write in On Power. In addition to its references to natural law and the Creator, the Declaration of Independence drew from the knowledge of all philosophers and their conception of society and mankind. Not all philosophers, certain philosophers. For example, in a May 8, 1825 letter to Henry Lee, Thomas Jefferson, the original author of the Declaration, he explains, and it amazes me, Tim Kaine, Mr. Producer, do you have one of my books there? Would you grab it now for a second? And open it up to the flag page. You know which page I mean? And write the following. To Senator Tim Kaine. It's Kaine. On behalf of Mark Levin, I want to provide you with a free copy of his New York Times best-selling book, On Power. Mark wants you to know that since you were playing hooky when we learned in third grade the difference between liberty and tyranny, he wanted to provide you with a copy of his book so you could better understand why you're supposed to be a senator. Now, the book does have some big words, which you're free to Google. But at your convenience, hopefully in the near future, Mark would like to invite you on his program. There's no way you can write all this. You know what? I should handwrite this. I think I said I'll do it over the weekend. We'll do it over the weekend. But see, ladies and gentlemen, you know far more than a United States Senator who was the Attorney General of Virginia. I think I said Lieutenant Governor. I don't think he was. He went from Attorney General. I think he was Attorney General twice. Became governor once because your term limited as governor. Then he became a senator. He barely won his Senate seat. Now apparently he can't lose because they've turned Virginia blue. Maybe we can win now and then. We'll see. But that said, it's amazing the things that we discuss here, the things I write. How Democrats in the Senate and the House either don't know them or completely reject. It's just shocking to me that the very basis for their existence in these offices, they reject or don't know. That's pretty sick. By the way, 2 great Life, Liberty, and Levin programs this weekend. I want to encourage you to record them. Now, nobody says TiVo anymore, do they, Mr. Producer? But nobody really says DVR anymore either, do they? I don't know what it's called. My wife does it all the time. Records. I don't know what the record is called, but you folks do. You should set 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox for Life, Liberty, and Levin for Saturday and Sunday. You can set it forevermore. And just lock it in. That way, if there's a football game or this game or you're out about and so forth and so on, oh, damn it, I forgot. You don't have to worry about it. Or you don't have to stay up till midnight or 1 in the morning to watch the rerun. Just record it. It's that simple. If you do it while it's front of mind. Now, Saturday night, we have Ben Shapiro and Gianna Caldwell. Fantastic. 2 great young guys. Smart as hell. Sunday night, we have the president of the Heritage Foundation. Great man, Kevin Roberts. And a wonderful senator, Tom Cotton. So Roberts and Cotton on Sunday, Shapiro and Caldwell on Saturday. Department of War, wow. I'm just telling you, if I had proposed any of this like months ago, there he is, the warmonger. But we're not warmongers. We support the Department of War. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin, tough as hell.
That's why I like Mark Levin. And I'm not sure a lot of people like him. He's tough as hell. But I like him. I love him.
Call in now. 877-381-3811.
Let's jump into the gene pool here. Let's go to Paul, Marion, Iowa, on the Mark Levin app. Paul, how are you, sir?
Absolute honor of my life to be able to talk to you.
Thank you.
I never got into Rush, but this is a gift. And I am so glad to be able to talk to the Patriot right now. This is amazing. Started listening to him in '88. He introduced me to you as F. Lee Levin.
That's right.
And not personally, but on the radio. And after he died, tears on the floor when I heard Catherine Limbaugh's voice. But it took me a couple of years before I could listen to radio again. But my son, who works for me, had the AirPods in every day. And I said, who are you listening to? And he said, Mark Levin. I said, okay. This has been a transformation. Anyway, I don't want to...
Well, you're a sweetheart. Your whole family, fantastic. I really appreciate him. Boy, do we miss him. We miss him big time.
Every day of my life.
Yeah.
Every day of my life. Thank you so much for the books. Man on Power, amazing. Now, I'm reading it for the second time because I'm not a good reader. I don't absorb well. But the one chapter that I think they're all important, but on language, is so amazing because if we don't know the language of these, I'll be careful myself, I'm not going to say a bad word. If we don't know the language, how these people speak, we'll fall right into their trap. The book, the chapter on language is so important for people to understand that you have to know how these people are talking. Otherwise, they get you in their grip. So I just wanted to thank you so much for picking up the torch for Rush. You were already in there, of course. I know that.
It's my honor, believe me. And I want to thank you so much, Paul. And God bless you, man. Make sure you're not a stranger here. You know, I get it a lot. I really do. I mean, Rush was one of my best friends for a long time. And at night when he could hear, we would talk from time to time. And when he lost his hearing, he mostly liked email. He didn't love texting. So we would email about personal things, family things, our dogs, whatever we wanted. And I miss him a great deal. He was no fan of Tucker Carlson, even in the quote-unquote good old days. He just wasn't. But he was much more polite than I am. And he was an early Trump supporter. I think that that Rush saw himself and some of Trump because Rush was a rebel. He was a rebel. That's how he created this genre. Fired 7 times. He didn't care. I mean, he cared, but he didn't care to do what he was being told to do because he knew he had other things he wanted to do and other things he wanted to say. And I know he'd be very, very happy with President Trump. That I do. He was a huge fan and a personal friend of Benjamin Netanyahu's. And he went to Israel several times. And he used to talk about it on the air, how he went on a military helicopter and he saw the Golan Heights and he saw all these different places, which brought to him the reality of what a tiny country it is and how they need to defend themselves. Missed very much today. He would have been appalled by this isolationist movement. There's no question about it. I don't have to read his mind. I know what he believed. And, well, there you have it. Let us go to Lance, Kalispell, Montana, XM Satellite. Our buddy Lance, how are you, sir?
Good evening, Mark. Hey, happy Freedom Friday from the great state of Montana. I'm going to throw 3 logs on the fire, and then I'll get out of your way and watch you pour the gasoline on them.
Okay.
First and foremost, you were mentioning earlier about the sale of some liberal rag for $200 million, questioning, you're in the wrong industry. That's $200 million worth of backside material from my generation and the next. That's where that's.
It's not that bad, the free press.
Yeah.
No, it's not us. I got it. But they have some good stuff in there.
On a fair occasion, I give them that. Overall, I see the direction where it's being sold, where it's going. Mm-hmm. Just reams and reams of
$200 million. That's a lot of money, don't you think?
Well, honestly, here's something even more priceless. I haven't had the opportunity to go pick up your book yet, but having paid attention to what you've been saying prior to its release, what Mark Levin does, the information that you give out I listen on AM radio, the information that you give out, somebody that makes the wage I do, if you were to charge for it, I couldn't afford it. And you do it for free. And you bring the kind of honesty and transparency to what is actually writ in law. You bring your experience and your ability as, a litigator, and you always make a valid case in point. So to me, $200 million is a drop in the bucket to what you can't put a price on what Mark Levin does in this country and what he does.
Oh, man, you're very, very kind. I really appreciate that. That's very nice of you. Let me ask you a question. I'm always curious. I've never been to Wyoming and Montana and these fantastic states. Is it starting to get a little chilly there? Am I wrong?
Well, where I'm at, we had some dog days this summer. We had 93 and sunshine on the water yesterday, and close to 88 again tomorrow, so it'll be a great day. We have a lot of lakes and rivers where I live, so it's really desirable to be here. And there's nothing
Are you
more
from there?
beautiful than... yes, sir. I'm Native American, Native Montanan.
Really?
Yes.
A native Montanan. Whether there's 7 of you or what?
No, because I've got more than that in my family, but probably 7 families left, so you can't quite classify.
Now, what? May I ask what tribe or tribes?
Part Chief Little Shello Yibwe and part Toll Mountain Chippewa Belcourt, North Dakota, actually.
That's so
my
cool.
family's been here from border to border since early 1800s. As far as we can trace back, and natives aren't good for keeping written records. It's all stories and many moons ago. So,
well, you're a good man. We really appreciate you, buddy. Wait a minute. You don't have a book, isn't that what you said? Well, hold on, don't hang up. We're going to get you a book. No, don't hang up. If you want to buy one and give it to somebody else. Let's get his full name and address and get him a book, Mr. Producer. Very kind. Thank you. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
I want to read something to you, folks. Let's see here. Let me pull it up, as usual. Tommy Peugeot is State Department deputy spokesman. He just put out the following. Let me make sure I'm getting this correctly. Bear with me, folks. Here it is. I can do this. And I will post it myself. A former State Department contractor who is actively working to derail the president's agenda is now slandering public servants like Ambassador Mike Huckabee and David Milstein. That's my stepson. The former contractor admitted himself that he was attempting to put quote-unquote guardrails on the administration of the duly elected President of the United States. That was the reason he was fired. Anything implying otherwise is a complete fabrication. This is officially from the United States Department of State. A complete repudiation of more than 1 hour of Chatsworth, Qatarlson's bullcrap, and where he promotes this guy who was undermining the president's policies and foreign policy and was removed for that reason, having nothing to do with my stepson, nothing to do with me. To repeat, from Tommy Peugeot, State Department deputy spokesman, a former State Department contractor who was actively working to derail the president's agenda, is now slandering public servants like Ambassador Mike Huckabee and David Milstein, and I might add, Speaker Johnson. This former contractor admitted himself that he was attempting to put guardrails, quote-unquote, on the administration of the duly elected President of the United States. That was the reason he was fired. Anything implying otherwise is a complete fabrication. This guy and Tucker are liars. That's what they are. Now it's certified and official. So we have an official Department of State response. And so we had a 1-hour Tucker Carlson program about a Palestinian child who was murdered by the IDF. But he wasn't murdered by the IDF. He's alive and well, and Carlson has never apologized or corrected. And now we have another 1-hour story about how I somehow was involved in firing a contractor and my stepson, David, was the source of it, when that was a lie. Here we go. of the week is officially over. The weekend officially begins now. Don't forget Life, Liberty, and Levin, 8 p.m. Eastern tomorrow and Sunday. Set your recorders. How about that? We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, and our truckers. We salute the women and children and the men. Yes, everybody in Ukraine and Israel, and you, the American people. Thank God for each and every one of you. Good night, Spritey and Griffey and Pepsi and Smokey and Zelda. Good night, Indy and Patton and Rory and Gigi and Marty and Barney. Good night, Dad and Mom. Good night, Leo and Joe. Good night, Bernard. Good night, Teddy. Good night, Lou, and other great patriots that we've lost, family and friends. Don't forget, tomorrow night, Life, Liberty, and Levin. Sunday, Life, Liberty, and Levin. Grab your copy of On Power. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. And the truth shall set you free. See you tomorrow.